afternoon. I am Anthropology with Nick, and today we are going to be discussing the Golden Bull of 1222 AD, or as I like to call it, Hungary's Magna Carta. First, before we go to Hungary, we must pivot to England. 7 years prior to 1222 AD to 1215 AD, when the Magna Carta was signed. The Magna Carta was the first constitution of the English nation, and it was brought about by rebellious barons who forced King John of England to sign it. In the Magna Carta, it guaranteed rights for noblemen and serfs, and the rights to a fair trial and for a council to decide on the passing of laws. It was ahead of its time, at least in the context of medieval Europe, and it would form the basis of English parliamentary powers, which still exist today. While the Magna Carta was the most famous examples of an early constitution, now let's pivot back to Hungary 7 years later, under the reign of Andrew II. Hungary in the 13th century was very different from the Magyar Confederation, which migrated during the 9th century. By the efforts of Saint King Stephen I of Hungary, it had become a Christianized feudal kingdom on the Pannonian Basin. German and Swabian settlers were invited to settle in Hungary, and a growing number of knights and barons were becoming common in Hungary. The so-called middle class of nobles was in contrast to the higher-up nobles, those descended from the Magyar chieftains of early Hungary. The conditions leading up to the Golden Bull was due to Andrew's unpopular reign. After the death of Bela III in 1196, his eldest son Emmerich assumed the throne. However, his youngest brother Andrew contested the throne. Emmerich would beat Andrew back, but in 1204, when Emmerich died, his 4-year-old son assumed the throne. When he died just a year later, Andrew assumed the throne of Hungary as Andrew II. During the fight with his brother, Andrew relied on the support of high-ranking officials under the Hungarian crown, and once he assumed power, he dished out traditional crown land to these noblemen that had supported him. This caused trouble amongst the subjects, and although the conditions in 1222 were unclear to modern historians, the nobles would apparently in a coup present a series of demands to Andrew. These series of demands would be laid out as a series of rights for the noblemen in the Golden Bull of 1222, a golden bull being the name of the seal on it, a golden bulla. In this golden bull, the noblemen would be granted rights to, first, avoid arbitrary imprisonment, second, be declared exempt from taxes, third, have a female heir take a third of the land if no male heir is found, fourth, avoid the obligation to join a war unless they are paid or it is defensive, and 5. Foreigners cannot receive titles without a royal council's approval, so setting up the rights to a royal council. The rest would be probably why we don't talk about the 1222 Golden Bull so much, as included very pro-Hungarian clauses, such as no Jew could hold public positions, and tax collectors and toll keepers can only be of Hungarian noble descent, and Hungarian property can only be given to Hungarians. These concessions would make up the first Hungarian constitution, and would be the first step to the establishment of the Hungarian parliament, which still claims descent from this Golden Bull. It is interesting to see how across Europe the nobles would begin agitating for greater rights, chafing against their feudal overlord, and this would begin to plant the seeds for eventual democratic institutions across Europe and eventually the world. I'm Anthropology with Nick, and this has been the Golden Bull of 1222. This is the first video on this new channel of mine, where I'm going to be hopefully covering topics ranging from the ancient era all the way to the present day. I created this channel just to be able to indulge on these interests, because I felt like my old channel, I wasn't able to really make videos about the things I wanted to, and I felt very constricted to a format. So this is an option. This is a new chance to start new, and I hope you guys enjoy it.